Jump. Hi everyone, welcome to Tales of Edeah, episode 7.5 I've called it, because it's essentially a two-parter with the previous one. But hi you guys, I'm glad that most of you could be here again. Unfortunately Kira is having some computer issues, so she has to sit this one out, but hopefully we'll have her back for the next time. We also have a little bit of sad news, which is that this is today Carlos's last episode for a good while. So hopefully, Carlos, and you know that all of us are hoping that you'll be back soon. But in the meantime, let's hope that we make this a really good, quote unquote, final episode for you for the time being. And with that, are we all good and ready to start?
Good.
Yep.
Perfect. Cool. All right, then let me get you guys into the next episode of Tales of Edeah. Postizia, March 14th, year 51 of the new era. The Ashen Hearts have seen and done many things in the past months, and all of it seemed to lead here, the Equinical. This yearly celebration of the end of winter brings together some of the most powerful in Postizia, ostensibly to set aside their differences, but truthfully, it is closer to a political free-for-all. This quagmire of ambition and greed has now drawn in the Ashen Hearts, who are attending the celebration at the behest of Lord Fenwick and the Arcanist Edeah Sordenbrand. Their missions are plentiful, both given and self-appointed. On behalf of Lord Fenwick, they hope to find out who has been paying the Catstein Misers, a criminal gang, to harass him and kidnap his wife. On behalf of the Arcanist, they intend to investigate who might be complicit in the disappearance of her husband, who went out on a fool's errand and will likely never return. But more than that, their own journeys have led them here for one reason or another. Jean-Jacques, for the possibility of advancing his family's causes. Barnack and Tani both have particular individuals that they wish to talk to. Turnock possibly has the heir of his home kingdom to save, and Kor needs them all to come through without being arrested so they can go on to help his father. Last time, the Ashen Hearts entered the heart of the Equinical and oriented themselves, seeing who is there and who they might talk to. They found themselves in a quiet summer warmth that had been magically placed in the great courtyard known as Edeah's lawn. The interior of the Honourable Court and the surrounding offices have been lavishly furnished, with beautiful sofas and chairs, rich oak tables, and seemingly every portrait and rug pulled from the rest of the solidariat. There is a quiet buzz of polite conversation which fills the audible space, as the Ashen Hearts stand near one of the bars, where servants in fancy dress are providing drinks and more to the multitudes of guests that have now arrived. A small procession of attendants is following Miss Katerina Picars and Lord Bodan Ironshoe, respectively the Grand Pensionary and the Stedholder of the Republic and its leaders, as they make the rounds, greeting people and paying their respects at the magnificent monument which stands at the heart of the Honourable Court. One man, which I failed to mention last time, but one man struck the group perhaps with some trepidation or at least interest. One Robert Mortimer, the Honourable Assemblyman, and seemingly one who had recently returned from mysterious travels, who seemed to be no other than their former companion, Appy, his full name the apprentice to them, who, after his change of personality, had threatened them not to interfere in his business any further. We now return to the Ashen Hearts, provided with fresh drinks, maybe fresh food, and a clear overview of the guests that might be of interest to them. So in the area around you guys, in the Honourable Court and Edeah's lawn, you can find the following individuals that you're already aware of, but I just want to remind you. There is Aya K, the half-orc, who is currently talking to some lord or other. There is Bilmont Sonorius, who seems to be talking to a dwarf. Lady Edeah Sordenbrand, who is currently in very deep conversation with what seems to be two further researchers from the university. You find a trio that might be interesting. The Honourable Clementine Selman, Philip Grundig, and Cornelius Brackenbridge all huddled together around a table, having quite an intimate conversation. You also see Jean-Pierre Chopin. He is currently chatting with what seems to be random members of the Merchant Guild lobby, other merchants that have interests in politics. Marquis Falkenhaus. He's looking very tense and is talking quietly with the stedholder, Lord Bodan Ironshoe. Mr. Atticus Hope is sitting near Jean-Pierre Chopin, but currently is quietly speaking with one Sir Rondavius. Lady Esme Bonneville stands out as she stands next to pretty much the most impressive member of the assembly, Lord Sierra Leaf, a furbolg, and the only of his kind in this space. And the Honourable Robert Mortimer, who, upon entering, did cast a brief glance in the direction of the party, but is now currently talking with several members of the Science Directorate. So, you have your options spread before you, and you can completely decide, you're completely free to decide in which direction you wish to go. So what do you guys want to do?
One of the hardest questions I've ever heard.
Feel free to just get started.
Now that we have
Nice.
avian sounds, now I can properly think through it. So Mr. Falkenhaus is yeah. So I am going to, well, in the way that Turnock is able to do, blend in
Okay.
as best as I can, and considering that I'm a Dragonborn, and I don't know how many of those. There are a few, but not
Surprising
that many.
amount, actually, I would say.
Oh, really?
You know, it doesn't seem like that many, but when you actually look at just at the list that you were given, you can easily spot about 7 of them of various important positions, attended in turn by several more Dragonborn. So there's a good 20 or so that you can see walking around. They stand out, but you could mingle effectively if you wish.
Yeah, so, I'm going to keep an eye out for Falkenhaus and whatever activity he's taking, and in the meanwhile, unfortunately I lost access to all of my notes that I made on the actual file because I formatted the PC and I forgot about that detail.
Oh, shoot,
I
I'm
literally
sorry.
cleaned everything up without backup because that's the only way that formatting actually works. But I am going to, I'm going to keep an eye out for him, but as I mentioned before, it is not my intention to specifically stop any activities taking place right now, but to actually keep track of them.
Okay.
So at this point, as I've already, mentioned, that I'm not going to be engaging in any other activities with the party, as long as they make a move, the Falkenhaus and the other lady. So I'm going to keep an eye out for them and for the party, in case they need me, in case I see somebody going through a difficult situation that needs somebody to get them out of, or something like that.
Okay, so you're kind of circulating, keeping an eye out for the people that you have your interest, but generally actually kind of avoiding probably conversation so you don't get too distracted with somebody trying to introduce themselves. Okay, so Tornok begins to circulate. What is the rest of you guys doing?
Well,
I'm gonna stick with
Yeah?
either Barnack or Jean-Jacques because I feel like Core feels super out of place here. He doesn't know what the hell how to even stand without looking awkward.
Okay. So Cora is kind of struggling a little bit with social etiquette. I will say, why don't you just give me a quick performance check just to see, how good or bad is this going at the moment.
Oh no.
We'll see. It could be really good. He is fairly charming.
Performance.
Yes.
16.
16. Okay. It's slightly awkward to the Ashen Heart specifically. Those of you in the group right now who look over to Core, you can see the way that he imitates. Let's say Jean-Jacques. Jean-Jacques probably has more of a bearing that requires imitation. But you guys can recognize it. But for others, people are looking over at you, Core, and there's just quiet respect. Some people give you a nod and, polite recognition the same way that they're doing with Jean-Jacques. And overall, you feel fairly confident that you are blending in well.
Nice.
So, Barnack, I believe you wish to say something as well.
Well, I feel out of place too. Very out of place. So, Barnack will do what he usually does when he feels out of place. He'll keep being loud whenever someone approaches, and he'll keep drinking.
Okay. Yeah, it's not too difficult to avoid social attention at an event like this, because the slightest, quote-unquote misbehavior immediately draws people away. Nobody wants to be seen with the drunk dwarf in the corner. But after about, let's say, 10 minutes or so of this, several people have tried maybe to make a polite conversation. There was a couple, and there was someone alone, and then there was a group who you all kind of scared away very quickly. Not through any overt, shouting or anything, but just by generally kind of being rude. You see someone saddle up to the next to you, and it is one halfling, one Taskmaster Silver, with a glass of scotch in hand. And he just kind of, you guys are, you're probably sitting by the bar, so he just kind of comes leaning up against the bar, which is about as tall as he is. And he just leans up against it, takes a sip, and he just looks at you. Well, now, you seem to be making friends. How you doing, Barnack?
Friends? These people? No friends here. Taskmaster, you know that.
I do know that, but, Barnack, and I really don't like being put in this position, because I don't like being in any position, really, but you do understand you're representing the freelancers here, too. And if you could just not scare people off that much, it would kind of be helpful.
Do you want me to be a recruiter?
Do you think anyone here could do what you do? Of course not. There's no one here like you. You're the quality we need, but right now you're representing us to people that can pay us. So we gotta come off right, so that they'll keep paying us. And then you can walk away with all the stacks of money and retire to a nice little island down by the coast, maybe in the bay, and you see him kind of start to trail off a little bit.
That's very specific.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand. I don't like many people around me, but
he offers you the scotch. It's a good one.
Yeah, no problem there.
Good. Now, no getting too drunk. I know you've got that whole constitution going on, but
no getting too drunk.
Be the best you can be to these people. And if anyone, I understand there's some rumor that you're some kind of ambassador to some place. Just brush it off. Don't, make any theatrics, because if we piss off people from far away, that's not going to look good for us either. Anyway, it's been real good talking to you, Barnack. I'm going to mingle. And he just pushes himself off.
Do that.
And goes back into the crowd.
Darn it. Can't even get drunk properly. Jean-Jacques, can I have a word? If you're there.
I was gonna say that I probably left a while ago, but let's say that I'm back.
Yeah, you probably did some circulating, and just as you're coming by, Barnack just catches you out of the crowd. Pulls you close.
Just get my dice. just to
Oh,
have
boy.
them. Okay, but
Wait, I don't want to have that kind of conversation.
no.
I
No.
seduce Jean-Jacques.
No. Jean-Jacques, how's your... Well, how are we going to get our stuff?
That is an excellent question.
Can you work on that one, on that mystery? And I can try to help Tani and Kor feel at home here.
Okay.
You must feel at home, Barnack. Okay.
I
Didn't know that was one of our objectives, but if you want to feel at home and make others feel the same way, I like to go get an attitude. Are you okay, Barnack?
No, it's too many people here. It's too many people here, Jean-Jacques, and they're all like you, but worse.
Paul?
Thank you.
That wasn't a.
Right.
That's okay. That's okay. Anyway, I really need
Listen,
our
I
stuff.
understand. Like, just try to breathe and think of this like a real big ship, where you're carrying loads of people from one place to another, none of whom you like, most of whom are completely dog shit and keep getting into your ale, and you lose your rum halfway through because they're partying all the time, right? It's just one of those days and one of those trips, and it'll soon be over. So just,
That's a good analogy.
yeah.
It's good
I've
that I
been
know
told I'm
what an
pretty good
analogy
at
is.
those. Quite surprised, Bartek, gotta say. That was that one book that you read in your life, wasn't it?
I read 3.
I don't think it counts if you rip it in 3 pieces.
It was 3 books, Jean-Jacques.
Okay.
And I know one of them you didn't actually read. But
Okay.
I'll provide it to you.
Is
Anyway, yeah,
it
please
Dwarven
get our
erotica?
stuff. It's not Dwarven erotica. It's not even Dwarven. But that's the second book.
Ah, okay.
Although Jean-Jacques probably read that one as well, so...
Probably. All right. So, in the meantime, what are you guys gonna get up to?
Well, I was going to say that I'll look at. I was interested. Whom was Edeah talking to again?
Okay, so if you take a look, Edeah seems to be speaking with one. One moment. With one Lord Oddbjörn Bredgard.
Okay.
Not anyone of particular importance, so you probably have to ask around a bit to see if there's anything interesting about that person, but doesn't seem to be the case.
Okay. And none of the books that I had were written or the property of Edeah, were they?
No, they were not.
Okay.
Are you planning on returning a book?
No, definitely not. What about Lord Wyman Imke? Is he there?
Yes, you can locate them if you like, if you wish.
Yeah, I'll take a look around.
Okay. You find him sitting at the end. So what they've set up is essentially you've got this square, these square corridors / offices that run around the honorable court, which, you know, all the doors are open and they've basically made corridors in which you can sit and socialize. At each of the corners, they've set up these bars. So just literally bars like in a tavern, behind which all of the supplies are stashed and people are being handed out drinks and food and kind of hanging around there. And at the end of one of these, you see Lord Wyman sitting very sadly alone over a scotch, currently drinking very slowly and just kind of staring ahead of himself. You see he is not doing too well. The gnome is, you know, you can see he's also a bit older at this point. He's definitely one of the old guard of nobility. And sometimes people come by and they have a brief chat with him, and he perks up. But as soon as he's alone, he just kind of sits there and looks into his drink and swirls it a bit, and is a bit, melancholy.
All right. Well, that's a good start as any. I'll approach the bar, and kind of not really paying much attention to the Lord. I'll flag the bartender and I'll say, glass of bourbon, please. Neat.
Okay. There's just a brief nod. You can tell that these people are very busy, so they're being as respectful as possible, while also just being extremely to the point. So your bourbon is served very quickly, and you're left alone pretty much immediately.
Yeah. So I'll take the bourbon, swirl it, take a sip, and then lean on the bar, my back towards the bartender, and just survey the crowd, kind of giving the Lord a sideways glance, but not interacting right away, and just see if he perks up or if he picks himself up in the company of others, and if not, I'll address him probably.
Okay. The only thing that you do notice as you're sitting, essentially, these bars are set up at the transitory points where people can actually move between the various sitting areas. So a lot of people are coming by, and you can see that he sometimes looks over at the crowd, and he catches you once or twice looking in his direction, and every time he looks a bit more sour, as if he's expecting some sort of negative input from you pretty soon, that you're either building up the courage or just waiting to put him, in his place. But he doesn't say anything to you in that time.
Has something happened recently that we know of that would...
Not in particular, although as far as you can tell, the Lord Traitor
He's used
title,
to that.
yeah, it's definitely something that hangs around him quite strongly. Even his allies don't seem to hang around with him too much, and you're not sure what actually earned him the title, because he's not the only nobleman who is in favor of reform.
Yeah. So I'll kind of, holding my bourbon, I'll just make one of those pleased sounds like, that's damn nice bourbon. I say to him, kind of like casually. Are you having the same thing?
No, I'm not. I'm sorry, do I know you?
Well, I don't believe that we know each other. No, my name is Jean-Jacques Dupois, and I put my hand forward very, jovially and, openly. Pleasure to meet you.
With some suspicion. And you can see he kind of considers for a moment. He looks at you, and then he switches the drink to the other hand, and he just briefly reaches out to shake yours. And you can see, he's also sitting on a taller stool, so you can actually sit at the bar. So he has to kind of reach over a little bit to actually grab your hand.
Yeah, I'll try to make it as easy for him as possible.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Dupois.
That's correct.
So what... And, you can tell he's kind of deciding whether to even bother making conversation before, according to him, probably the blows start coming. What brings you to this fine celebration?
I kind of look over the very, finely dressed people, all of it. Yes, fine indeed. I'm accompanying some friends of mine from the freelancers here on official business. Been new in town and decided to take a look around.
Freelancers? In this place?
That's correct. Yeah.
Interesting.
I, tap my nose conspiratorially leaning in a top secret business.
He kind of looks a little interested. You can see that brief sparkle of curiosity. He sits up a little bit. He looks at his drink again. But he leans sideways a bit. He goes, what kind of business?
I kind of I chuckle and I say, well, I ain't that kind of a person, Lord, to give you all the information on my very first drink. I'd say you'd have to buy me one, but, well, they're free, so I don't know. Maybe we can regale each other with stories, and that can be our payment.
Perhaps. So, since there will be a lot of talking tonight, what is it in particular that you're hoping to get out of him? And, let's see what you're willing to give as well.
Well, I'll give to him tidbits of information about Elena. So I won't talk about Lord Storm because I would, I think at least they're on the opposite sides of the political aisle. So not just talking about Elena in terms of like who exactly we're there to investigate or anything like that, but just that, her husband's has disappeared and the lady's been distraught and that we're here to help, that we actually had a hand in the I'll leave it at that probably, and then from him, I'm trying to I will position myself as a person that's friendly to his cause. Like, I'll very much play the role of somebody who's like-minded, because, we are, as far as I know, at least.
Seems to be the
anyway.
case, yeah.
But I'll maybe, put a little bit of extra influence on that, talk a little shit about nobility in general, kind of say how I appreciate people who step out of line to speak for the betterment of our republic, etc., etc. From him, I'm trying to kind of gather who are the more extreme members of the sort of, his group.
Right.
And who might be willing to step out of line more so than others to make a point or to achieve their goals. Positioning, as I said myself, as somebody who's interested in working with those kinds of people, kind of like I'd love to offer my services to some, over a cup of bourbon that I haven't really drank, be like, I'd love to, work with somebody who's willing to put one of the old guard in their place, kind of thing, trying to kind of lead him into telling me who might be responsible for.
Okay, I will say with that information, roll a persuasion check.
All right. 14.
14.
We have tons of inspiration, by the way. Just remembering, I think you still have some.
I don't think I got any. At least I don't remember getting any.
Okay.
I think that's
just
right.
you two.
It's just you. It's just you.
Yeah, I think Simon just really loves Turnock. But
Simon was considering giving me some, but then he didn't because he hates Jean-Jacques.
But yeah, with that, and over the course of, let's say, this is about a 15 to 20 minute conversation. So there you go for the next time. But this is about a 20-minute conversation that goes on, right? And you're really occupied during that time. You can do some looking around, but you're really kind of in it with him during that time. You do discover that he lists Joy Strong as one of the sort of extremists. Very clearly also Philip Grundig is one of them. And that is sort of where that list ends until he also adds himself. But, he considers himself an extremist mostly in terms of his beliefs, but not outright, he wouldn't necessarily take any extreme actions. And he clearly misses kind of the point of what you're aiming at regarding what people might be willing to do for the cause.
Yeah.
Which is why he adds
Philip
himself.
or Franciscus Grundig?
Philip, the son.
Oh, there he is.
All right.
Okay.
So while that conversation is going on,
Kev, I just had a. Oh yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you and Cor and Barnack, what are you guys getting up to?
Oh yeah. I'm actually. What's Bilamon up to?
Okay. Make a perception check. As you're kind of, moving around, you probably pass by Jean-Jacques at least once on your, travels through the Honorable Court, trying to keep an eye on these various people that have your interest, Turnock. What is your perception check roll?
Wait.
Okay.
13.
Okay. So I will say, let's see here. I will say that you catch Beaumont. You don't necessarily get close enough to really see much, but he continues to be for a good half hour, and they kind of attract more what seems to be noblemen and women, who cluster around this person who you learn is Count Devon Oakridge. and they're all kind of clustered around. And I will say that in your traversing the area, you overhear some rumors that there may be a scandal regarding this Count Devon. Not sure what the scandal will be, but supposedly it will run in a special edition of the Austrae Dispatch tomorrow, which was actually delayed today on account of the Equinical.
But, just what does Billamon have to do with it?
Oh, sorry, yeah, Bilmont. No, sorry, but I was still, because you also... he is currently speaking with him, that's all. Like, he is part of the conversation, that's pretty much it.
I wished... Actually, if you may, Kevin, because unfortunately I'm not being able to access the file, and if I actually took the attention to set up the things that I need to set up, Excel, and I'm not being able to open it online on the browser. What did give me a quick recap on Billamon and what was his thing again? Because I know that we got his name from Helena, and his name was mentioned one other time related to one of our missions and quests. And what was his thing again, Billamon Sonorius the Gnome?
I mean, that's a really specific question. I can't give that information in the context that you need, because that's something that, would have stood out to you.
Yeah.
So
You can share my notes.
No, but in general...
it might be better to ask the party this, because if I can give you everything, but that would be, that would be too much information. So, yeah, party, if one of you can share maybe your notes regarding Bilmont Sonorius.
Yeah. I don't have much in terms of Elena. She just mentioned that he was one of 3 people that spoke to her husband prior to his disappearance, and whom she suspects might have something to do with it.
That's all I have.
Yeah.
He spoke to her husband.
And what was
that,
his...
I don't...
No, it was actually afterwards. But do we have anything on his affiliation or what are his beliefs? He's like an extremist of some sort, right? One of the people who are not adept neither to the crown or the Republic in general. He's one of these guys, right?
Bilmont Sonorius is a gnome. He is the head of the Black Hat Commission, so he's currently essentially the head of police for Postizia. And on top of that, he is a sovereignist. So, his political affiliation is that he believes that Postizia's independence is the primary focus of his politics and his aims and goals in terms of voting.
Okay. So I am going to... How many people are gathered around this Devon guy?
At this point, probably about 7 or 8. Over the past 15 minutes, it's kind of been building up.
Yeah, so I'm not going to approach them. Not my conversation, not a conversation that I'd be welcome in. At least that's Turnok's perception of it.
Okay.
And but I'll stay close. And also, the things, of course, I have an eye out for Falkenhaus. I am not necessarily eavesdropping, but I'm not avoiding to hear any part of the conversation that they're having as well. And I'm looking for Keo, like just trying to locate him if I saw him somewhere.
I will say, with your passive perception, you feel fairly confident, and also based on what you know about Keo's role here, and the persona that he adopted, he probably won't be on the floor. He'll be in the back, in the kitchen, so he can more easily slip out. So you don't spot him. As far as the conversation goes, you try to pass closer by a few times, and you notice that there are other people that are trying to do the same thing. It's kind of attracted this attention based on the rumor that's going around about Devon. But each time that somebody passes too closely by, and it's never you, but someone else constantly gives themselves away, they keep moving further away. So they look around, and by about 10 minutes later, they end up standing in the honorable court, like out in the open, but where it's really clear that if somebody comes close, they're specifically coming towards them. So it no longer becomes a viable option. So you have about 10 minutes, in which time you can make a perception check to see if you overhear anything. And I will say that in this time, you may also
I
lose
crit.
track. You crit?
Yeah, I crit the perception.
Okay, nice. So that's what, 22, 23?
24.
24. Okay, nice. Okay. So we get about halfway through our 10 minutes. You primarily overhear something about misappropriated funds, and Count Devon especially kind of demanding that, he didn't do it, and also that someone is trying to take him down. So they're kind of debating that sort of accusations going on. But while you're listening to this, you notice out of the corner of your eye that Falconhouse, the Marquis, is no longer speaking with Lord Bodan, and is instead with two attendants heading deeper into the Solidariat, seemingly, out of reach towards from your perspective, towards the Ministry of Finance.
Yeah, so I mean, just a question regarding the eavesdropping, so to say. Did I get a glimpse of what type of behavior is Bilamon having towards this? Like, is he being supportive of the guy? Is he being inquisitive? Is he being, or not? That's not.
You can see that
I
since the other nobles have joined, he's kind of taken a back seat. He's part of the conversation, and he's still standing physically closest to Count Devon, but he's just got an arm or a hand on his shoulder, and he's just kind of patting him a little bit and trying to calm him down. But he doesn't seem to be taking an active part in the conversation at the moment.
Okay. As for Falconhouse, I am going to start following them in a safe enough distance where I don't miss them, but I also don't get noticed as being, a tailgate.
So you start to follow. Barnack and Kor still at the bar. I presume, Kor, at this point you didn't follow Jean-Jacques when you noticed that he was kind of trying to have a conversation with this man that seemed to be a bit, reluctant to speak? Or did you hang around Jean-Jacques?
No. I left him alone when I saw the. You said there were several bars, right?
There are several bars, yes. One in
so
each
I just
corner.
went to one that had an empty, space, and just sat there and started.
That would probably be close to Barnack.
Yeah, just keeping an eye on if any trouble starts happening.
Okay.
Trying to keep an eye on Jean-Jacques, on Turnock.
Okay. I will say that from a stationary position, it's very difficult to keep track of everybody because of the space that we have.
Whoever I can see. Like that.
Okay. Probably the easiest to keep track of is Tani, who is just kind of... It's a bit like... she's not trying to stalk anyone, but at the same time, she keeps her eyes on this Eithne that she's spotted and is interested in potentially speaking to. And she's just constantly kind of rotating around, and you can see her sometimes almost working up the courage to speak with her, and then just back off again. And sometimes she comes by to talk with you, but that is the most important. You do catch Turnock briefly going across the central courtyard, seemingly with purpose towards the more inner parts of the Solidariat, so northward. And at the same time, Barnack, what do you do in that time? If there's anything in particular you wish to do.
I'd like to approach Kor as well.
Okay.
Kor, so we have a few things to finish here. And since it's only two of us now, I see Tani is doing something. I don't know what that is. But, so we have a few things to finish. And do you think that we should get on with that, or just keep here and keep a low profile?
No, Lito. What do you suggest, Barnack?
Well, we need to find out, and I'll whisper into his ear, who the Scarlet Rose is. That's one thing. And we also need to find a person. Well, we need to find a few people. But let's find who the Scarlet Rose is first.
But
If they're here. Listen,
how do we do that?
listen, I have something. I have about 10 pieces of paper. And on all of them, it says the same message. It says, Scarlet Rose sends their regards. Right?
Wait, question for Kevin first.
Mhm.
How drunk am I?
Probably not very drunk. You've had like
Okay.
one maybe ale or something a little stronger, but you know you're nursing at best. So
Okay, but
So I'll give you
how-
5.
Okay.
And we need to find out who this is. So use these papers as your last resort, but don't mention the name. We need a plan. I'm not very good with coming up with these social plans with a lot of people, so help me out, Core. We need to find out who this person is. How do we do this?
Yeah, you're not asking the best person for for help on the social situation, Barnack.
I know there's no one else though. It's just us, Core.
Yeah, okay, but so we'll give this piece of paper to random people?
I mean,
At what?
we can choose as well. It's our choice.
Okay. Screw it. Let's do it then, Barnack.
Yeah, okay, but so that's
But
we need some form of a plan though. What we will do is first of all, Core, do you have anyone that you want to talk to, especially like specifically someone that you want to talk to?
nope, not really.
Okay, I do have
feel
a single
yeah.
person I would like to talk to before anything weird happens.
Who?
So, I need to find a lawyer. And I don't mean to get arrested after that. I need to find and talk to this lawyer about something else. So it's not like me preparing for some arresting.
Well,
So
well,
let's
I
go
need a
talk to-
lawyer too.
Probably if we do this, but let's go find the lawyer first.
Okay, let's go look. for
Let's
him.
go find Strauss.
okay.
Let's go find Strauss and let's talk to him. So Core, when I need to talk to him about a personal matter that he probably either A, doesn't remember, or B, doesn't want to talk about. So I'll need your help to persuade him to talk about it to me. Tell him that I'm I don't know, like,
But you're supposed
that-
to. There's rumors that you're an ambassador for somewhere, right?
I know, but I don't think I should use that card yet. Listen, I have an idea. Tell him that I broke down mentally once I heard that there were issues in my family. Just tell him that I'm like mentally challenged. Maybe he will find it in his heart to tell me the truth. But you have to talk to him. You're better at talking. I will
Okay.
also try to slip in this piece of paper into his well, whatever he has like.
But wait, why did you break down?
I don't know, think of something. It's fine. Just say that I broke down because my grandfather died
Okay.
and I lost my mind completely back then. And that the truth will really help my brain come back into normal.
No, you're just the ranger that works with the freelancers.
Okay.
But what do we want to ask him? Like, what do you want to know?
I
about-
really want to know. I really need to know what happened back then. I need to know why.
with your grandfather.
Yeah. I need to know why my grandfather had to die. I really do.
All right. Do you see him?
Do I see him?
You guys look around and you see standing at one of these like standing tables, literally, which has in this arena they have different tiers so that people and races of different heights can stand at them comfortably. you see him, Johann Strauss, this sort of hawkish gentleman with a bald head and quite fine clothes, very tall, currently in deep conversation, kind of privately it seems, with Miss Picars, the Grand Pensionary of our fine republic.
Do not go talk to the president.
You're
Do
not there.
Go talk to the president.
Okay, so let's go then,
think-
Barnack.
Yeah, I think that's him. I don't know who that lady is. Well, she's familiar, but
You see like 5 people standing, including a single guard that's just been following her around. But like 5 other people standing nearby that are taking notes or, watching her effects of just generally being not servants, but definitely attendants of some kind,
there's a
which
guard
nobody else
following her.
has.
Right?
Sorry?
There's a guard following her around.
Yeah, there's a guard standing about maybe
Okay.
within 6 or 7 feet.
So I'll turn to Barnack. Like Barnack, that lady, she must have snuck in here or something, because I think that guard's following her around so she doesn't steal something. So we can pretty much ignore her.
do we know? Do we visually know who she is?
Well, yes, she was introduced formally by the announcer as the Miss Katerina
okay.
Picars.
Yeah. So
I
we-
wasn't
we-
paying attention to that. So
Yeah.
That
Cord
is
doesn't
possible.
know.
But no,
Like,
yeah, okay. No, Cord. That's the grand purgatory thing. That's the one that Jean-Jacques told us not to. We shouldn't do that. So that one isn't. That's an important person.
okay.
So she's the leader of the Republic or something like
Oh.
that. Doesn't matter.
So we
we
need to wait for the
could-
liar to stop
Yeah.
talking to her.
Yeah, we need to wait. We could, though, always ask her about. Well, no, we shouldn't ask her about anything. No, I don't think we should talk to
I
her.
don't think we
She-
should talk to her at all.
Hold on.
Yeah, she.
As you guys are talking and debating and looking in that direction, you see both Miss Picars and Mr. Strauss look literally in your direction, and they both say something briefly, as if they're confirming amongst themselves, and there's just a brief lingering look on you from the Grand Pensionary before they both turn away and start walking down the corridor away from you towards the inner parts of the Solidariat.
What kind of look was it like? A
You
disdain?
can make an
or-
insight check if you like.
Yeah. Hold on, let me just find my red one. Here it is. Insight check, you say. It's okay. I hope. Insight is +2. 17 total.
17. Okay. And Core, are you doing something with insight as well, or?
Oh yeah, let me roll inside too.
Also, Barnack, that is hella bright.
7.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Just you were like,
Sorry?
7. Okay.
Your sun is in your face.
Mm-hmm.
Between the two of you, you look in that direction, but these are career politicians for well over, 40 to 60 years. Both of them completely unreadable at this distance.
Okay, so we can say that Barnack understood that as a sign of follow me, I need to talk.
If you wish.
Yeah. Core, I think they want us to follow them and to talk in private. Did you see that they looked at us?
Yeah. Do you think they want to talk?
I mean, they looked at us and their eyes lingered on us for a bit more. Yeah, let's go and let's see if they need something from us. Or well, it's still someone that I want to talk to, so that's 2 birds with 1 stone. Also, did I give you? Yeah, I gave you 5. So I'm giving you five little pieces of paper that have Scarlet Rose sends their regards on them.
Okay. So, with those papers in Core's pocket or hand, I presume the two of you set off after the Grand Pensionary and Mr. Johann Strauss.
Yes.
Let's cycle back to Jean-Jacques for a moment. What are you trying to do?
Oh, just as a brief aside, during my conversation with Lord Trader, at some point, based off of like a random tidbit of conversation, I mentioned like, "Oh my God, did you hear that Atticus Hope has fallen on hard times and has now become a drunk type of thing?"
Okay.
I'll just slip it in that I heard this rumor that Atticus Hope has gone deep into the spirits and developed this bad habit.
Interesting.
But that's just kind of like, I'll try to weave it in as subtly as possible as like, I just heard about it. It's not our main point of conversation.
Okay. So, it seems fortune favors you greatly, because as you're slipping this into the conversation, he's a little disbelieving. And right then, at the other end of the bar, which it's a long one. It can seat like 10 people in a row next to you, and then there's still room for 5 more on the shorter end. He sits on the shorter end. Atticus Hope sits down and just looks super worn down, and with half a glass still in his hand, he orders a second glass, and he just like downs the first one and then starts nursing the second drink.
So I take a drink and then do that thing where you put your glass into your mouth and they're like, kind of like,
right.
See?
Okay.
See?
You see just like, oh my.
Yeah.
Dire news. Okay.
So I'll extricate myself after a while from the Lord,
Sure.
with all of the pleasantries and thank him for the conversation, things like that. Now, is this event like a traditional ball type of thing? Like, is there dancing happening, or is it just...
No, there's
like,
presently no dancing yet. Presumably, since there is space, there may be dancing later on in the evening. But that's mostly accounted for in the sense of people are going to get drunk enough to want to dance, rather than necessarily being planned dances as part of the festivities.
Right. So it's not a traditional ball. This is more
No. That was something that
soiree type of
you
thing.
you were told ball, and then Fennec corrected himself. It's a celebration.
Okay.
More than anything.
Okay.
John wanted to dance.
Well, dancing is an easy way to have a private conversation in a very public place.
Yeah.
Do I see the tiefling? Vanity, was it? That we
Vanity,
see?
yes, you did see. She is currently mingling. You could go find her if you like. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try and find her and kind of,
Okay.
ideally have a private conversation with her
Okay.
as much as possible. Kind of catch her in between minglings.
Okay. You find that she's a little preoccupied with the group that she's in. All of them seem to be more administrative people, assistants, that sort of thing. She has a very particular crowd that she kind of is a part of and hangs out with, which she doesn't seem likely to be leaving anytime soon. So are you interested in trying to extricate her from that as well, or do you leave it be?
No, I will try, because I need her for my plan to work.
Okay.
So, because Kira's not here, and I don't want to do anything with Tani without her being there to confirm that she's happy to do it. So, I'll try and firstly, kind of walking around, catch her glance and kind of indicate that I want to talk to her.
Okay.
And if that doesn't work, I'll resort to more direct means of communication.
Let's make a subtlety check. So in this case, roll just straight up your charisma, and I'll set the DC properly.
Charm.
Roll charm.
Yeah. Not even that. Just like giving the right looks and glances at the right moment.
Well, thankfully, Jean-Jacques is a terribly charming individual. 20 total.
20 total. Okay.
Yeah, you need to be in order for you to pick somebody up from a group, and it actually works. So yeah.
So it just takes a little longer than you would have liked, and so there's like one awkward moment where you're doing this and you don't catch the right person immediately, and there's just like someone walking by who just looks at you like,
could you like
and then they walk on. But eventually, after a minute or so, you do get Vanity's attention, and she gets up. There's a bit of a giggle that runs through that group as they obviously see her move towards you, and they seem to assume that she has a sort of special connection with you.
You know. So seeing that, I'll make a show of it and pretend as if she's, either a long lost acquaintance or something, do a very formal greeting and,
Okay.
touch my lips to her back of her hand, kind of give her a sultry look. The whole shebang.
Okay. She
For
she
her friends.
smiles and affects some sort of a giggle,
Yeah.
but you can see her eyes are very very pointed, and she just stares at you and like through her without even fully opening her mouth. She's just like, "What are you doing? What are you doing here?"
I kind of give her a smile and turn my back to the people. And I say to her so that they don't see, well, firstly, I'm making sure that nobody wonders that thing themselves, but I'm on business here and I could use some help from a friend.
You can see her kind of resigning herself to her fate as the double agent, and she nods, and she extends actually a hand for you to take, so you guys can walk and talk at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll take her around the room so that it's like super inconspicuous.
Yeah.
I'll just start off a conversation about nothing at all. That type of thing, like, oh, have you read the Austrian Dispatch lately? What do you think about this thing or that
Sure.
thing? To make sure that we are seen as just enjoying the festivities. And then when we get a chance to be in a little bit of more of a private environment or, a side where we don't have that many listening ears next to them, and I say, I hope you've been doing well. Haven't checked in.
No, you have not, and I have appreciated that. Why now? Why here? Could you not warn me of this?
Well, you see, it was not planned per se. I would have preferred not to do it myself either. But dire circumstances called for it. You see, my friends and I are here in business, and we've left some of our supplies further in the building. Now, I've been informed that the guards at the various intersections are, while attentive, perhaps prone to accepting monetary encouragement to let people pass.
That could be true. Please tell me you didn't bring the dwarf.
Kind of give her a flat look. There's not. It's just kind of like.
She just looks at you and there's just a groan, like,
Yeah. But
Points out to the shouting dot at the corner.
just like some disturbance somewhere. But hopefully, you do not have to interact with him or with anybody else.
just you.
Just me.
Okay.
So I have a
Okay.
plan. And I do want to know that you're okay with it. It doesn't require much on your end. But it is the type of thing that I would rather not be forceful about. I would prefer that we agree on it.
Well, tell me the plan first then.
So I'll explain to, well, you don't know it either. So I can't just explain the plan that I never told you about. So you see, it would be very strange if I were to just simply approach these guards and attempt to encourage them to let me pass if I were on my own or with a group of people that have no business being there. However, I was hoping that you would pose as a romantic interest with me, as we've been doing for the past few minutes, and it doesn't require any physical contact of any kind or anything like that. I would merely approach the guards and tell them that I'm looking for a secluded spot to enjoy with my boo. So all it would take from you is to be present and okay with this, being okay with this lie. No funny business.
How long are we going to be back there?
I
People
hope
will
no
wonder.
longer. I hope no longer than 20 minutes. Well, I'll tell you. I'm going to. I need to go to. Well, actually, will it be 20 minutes? No, it would be quite a bit longer. For me, at least. I don't know for her.
Oh, well, if it is longer, then I will go and talk to my friends first and let them know, so that they do not wonder or start asking around.
Probably best to just do that just in case. But I hope no longer than 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay. I will be right back then.
I'll
And-
be right back too. Meet me here in a few minutes.
Okay, so she lets go of the arm. You, as you're standing there, you look around, and through one of the open doors to the courtyard, you see Turnock kind of going in this straight line. Obvious to you, but to no one else. With a purpose in a particular direction. And I will say, kind of assuming that Jean-Jacques' interest is at least enough to take a few extra steps and have a look at what's going on there.
Yeah.
Both of you kind of emerge into the offices around the Ministry of Finance and then into the hallway beyond. And there you see the Marquis, Henri de Falkenhaus, talking to one of the guards standing on watch there and being let through into the restricted areas of the Solidariat. As you both take this information in, Turnock, you look over and you see Jean-Jacques standing, like 40 feet down the hallway. Both of your attention is then drawn to the other side, where you see emerging, perhaps 20 seconds afterwards, the Grand Pensionary and Johann Strauss walking side by side with several attendants who go through the same checkpoint deeper into the Solidariat, and then Barnack and Kor appearing behind them, and all four of you essentially standing down the same corridor, looking at the same point from different places, and then realizing that everyone that you were following seems to have gone in the same direction.
Johann
Yes.
Strauss, the Grand Pensionary, the BBB, what's
The
his
Marquis.
name?
Falkenhaus. Marquis.
Marquis.
Yeah.
Okay.
And his escorts. And so as I see that and as I locate them, I go towards Jean-Jacques and I say, I don't know what's happening, but it's taking place right now, so we better get ourselves moving. And I look towards Barnack and Kor, and do they seem like they're following them like intently as well, the same way that we were? Yeah, right.
Pretty much.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so have you gotten a way to go past already, Jean-Jacques? Because I'm still struggling with that.
Well, I was working on that and getting to our gear, but I don't think that particular method will get all of us through.
Why would you get to our gear right now?
I have need of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that we were going to use that only in extreme situations. Are you in trouble already?
No, I've just put something in there that would be useful for other quests that I was hoping to retrieve.
I will say at this point, you all emerged into this corridor. This corridor is not part of the main celebration. While you're not prohibited from being here, you see several other small clusters of maybe 2 or 3 people throughout it, all the way to like the front doors of the Solidariat, where normally people come in. Your group in particular, and the way that you emerged and then grouped up, I assume that Barnack and Kor are also coming to Turnock and Jean-Jacques. Definitely has briefly drawn the attention of the two guards. You can see one of them is again this person in a very dark brown black robe, and the other one is a regular Solidariat guard. Which regular is still heavy plate armor, completely up for duty. Sword, heavy crossbow. They're ready to fight if need be, and to keep people safe. But they briefly look at you.
They went towards the Novidian court that away, or
no? They went through
west?
here.
Okay.
So for those of you in the stream, it's a relatively arbitrary hallway, but I'm just pinging it on the map for the group. So they went through there, all of them. But based on the maps that all of you have seen of the Solidariat, it is a wide and expansive place. So going into the same corridor here, it could still lead to literally the rest of the building. So there's no indication that they necessarily went in the same direction, just that they happened to pass the same guards.
I didn't see the ping. It's the Solidariat Hall, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no,
No.
never mind. I see it now. Yeah.
Ministry of Finance.
Okay.
I'm terrible at these situations as a player, not gonna lie, just venting out a little bit. That this This is my doom, man. I never know how to proceed.
At this point, you also hear a slight cough behind you, Jean-Jacques, as Vanity stands there, looking demure and appropriately. She's definitely taken the acting lessons that you've given her aboard the ship to heart.
Very good.
And
Could have give her like an approving nod, like well done. And I look towards the others and I say, well, as I mentioned, I got a plan to go through one of the checkpoints myself.
Mm-hmm.
Going all at once will be...
Yeah. You go. Go. And I tap him like the sports step on the butt. Just that one.
I look at Turnock and I just say, thank you. I'll look out for individuals that you're interested in. Kind of like look the other way with a very puzzled look, because Jean-Jacques probably never got that before in his life, right? It's like there's no way Jean-Jacques got that from RB or somebody. It was just like, I think that was a good thing.
I think that was a compliment. Like,
Sure. Okay.
So, I'm sorry. I was just going to address the two of them, like in you. How do you two plan on getting through?
Well, I believe that we were called by those two individuals that just passed.
yeah.
They looked at
And
us.
I check again, like Mr. Strauss and the Grand Pensionary. Okay.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, they looked
beckoning
at us. They looked at us for a few moments, and then they started leaving. That's usually like, come with us. We need to talk.
Turnock's actually laughing. It's not just me. And do you think that means they looking at you and then leaving means that they want you to follow them? The Grand Pensionary.
That's what it looked like to me too.
Oh, so the Grand Pensionary has business with the both of you. Okay. So go ahead then. And then I cross my arms and I just wait for them to go to the checkpoint. Talk to the guards.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that our names will now let us go through. Let's go, Cor.
Okay.
Before we go, I just slip in two of the pieces of paper that Barney gave me to Turnock, and I just like, we'll explain later.
I grab it and then I immediately look for a trash bin or something like that, because if I get caught with this, I don't find any.
There's no trash bins because people aren't, everything's being picked up by waiters. Everything is glass and, high quality stuff. Nothing's wrapped in, packaging
Turned out
materials or anything.
A huge problem now.
So you just have these two pieces of paper that you.
Nah, I eat the paper.
Okay, so this is the sequence of events that occurs. First, Vanity comes up to Jean-Jacques and just very smoothly slips into his arm, and she takes you on the walk. As you begin to approach the checkpoint, which is not that far away, right? But you start to approach, she just kind of leans in and she says, oh, no, not him. We cannot bribe him. We must go to the next one.
I take her lead and say, sounds good.
So the two of you continue walking. So by the time that Cor and Barnack start to go for the checkpoint, you see Vanity and Jean-Jacques casually strolling down the hallway further away. At that point, you both briefly look at each other. You look back and you just see Turnock very heftily chewing through two pieces of paper, and then it's gone.
I will spend one sorcery point to send a message to Turnock, and I will say, just say, not that one. Follow after a while. Try the one we go to. I think that's okay-ish for 6 seconds.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah. So Barnack and Carlos are still at unapproachable range, right? They're not too far gone to that main checkpoint.
Well, I will ask, because you guys were not far away, Cor and Barnack, how swiftly did you approach the checkpoint? Did you just go straight for it, or were you kind of hesitant?
I don't think we were hesitant. Cor slipped the papers to Turnock. We turned around, and we just went towards it.
So, Turnock, your eating was kind of also just desperately trying to get it down fast enough to intercept them. But by the time that you're like halfway and you've finally eaten the papers, you want to speak up, but they've already engaged in conversation with the guard nearby.
I'll explain later.
So,
I
Barnack and Cor-
look at Jean-Jacques. That I imagine that Jean-Jacques is looking at me while he's casting the message, and I just go.
What can you do? So, Cor and Barnack, as you approach the very heavy set soldier in the plate armor, and I apologize for my background noise at this stage, but the soldier looks at you both and literally sizes you both up, and then turns back to Barnack, who just has that air about him, right? And crosses his arms. All right. What are you doing here?
I believe that we were summoned a few moments ago to follow one Mr. Johann Strauss.
He looks over to the thaumaturge at his side. The thaumaturge looks confused. He actually removes the heavy helmet that he wears and he tucks it under one arm. And you see just a completely bald-shaved half-orc who, you know, very, very heavy set, very powerful build, who just looks down at you. Is that so? I apologize for my tone. Can I ask your name?
Of course. My name is Barnack Stoneheart.
Looks over at the other one again. And you, sir? And he looks to Cor. What is your name?
Yeah. And I'm Cor Blacksworn. We're expected.
He looks over at the other one. And they briefly, like, lean over towards each other and have a whispered conversation. Then he looks back at you, Barnack, and he says, "We were not made aware of your passing through. We will need to verify this with Mr. Strauss. Do you have a moment to wait?"
Of course.
Very well.
No problem.
He looks over at the other one, and the thaumaturge just nods, turns their back to you guys, and briefly casts a spell. There's a momentary delay.
Not a spell, no.
You're far enough away that you don't see this anymore at this point. But they turn back and just shake their head very, almost imperceptibly, but they shake their head, and the guard just looks at you. "I'm sorry, but you have not been granted clearance to move beyond this point. I will have to ask you to return to the party, and when Mr. Strauss emerges, then I am sure that you can speak with him then."
Of course. This must
I'll
have been a misunderstanding then.
I'll Barnack, give me a second. I'll beckon the guy, the half orc, the half orc, right?
Yeah.
To the side, like, come here.
He was kind of standing a little lazily almost. He just sets himself up straight and doesn't move and just stares at you.
Okay, then I'll get really close to him and I'll just say no, we can't pass. It's just that my friend has he has trauma and he has mental issues, but it's okay.
Corey's just enacting the plan at the wrong moment.
Roll a persuasion check, I guess.
Do I hear that?
Probably. No, actually, Cor is he's really whispering and leaning in to say this quietly. So you don't actually overhear
wrong
it.
skill.
Persuasion.
Persuasion,
Oh,
Cor.
wait. Oh, right, persuasion. There you go.
A 23.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
The guard just kind of looks at you, looks over at Barnack, he kind of leans out, and Barnack, you just see the guard suddenly lean out and look at you.
My eye just goes. Bloop.
he looks back to you, Kor, still standing so close, and he says, "Well, I believe that, but that still does not grant you permission to move beyond this point. I am sorry. If you could please return to the party, and please look after your friend so he does not cause any trouble for any of the other guests."
Okay.
Very good.
Okay, let's go, Kor. Then we'll do the other thing that.
I'm still standing with my arms crossed, like in the same place where I mentioned that I would be.
Chewing the paper.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll turn around,
No
go
success there, right?
towards Turnok, and I don't think this guy will let us through, and we might have misunderstood the
Oh,
eyesight.
really? Who
Just
would
so
have
you know.
thought? Yeah.
Also-
No, I'm so surprised that
Just
that's
remember
the case.
that we have more of the materials, so just
What?
Like, why did you eat them? And I'll give you another one.
No, I don't grab it. I put my hands behind my back. I put my hands behind my back and I said, "No, you need to you need to get rid of this. What are you thinking?"
we will get rid of this when we. This is the way to find out who that person is. Don't worry. You go after Jean-Jacques. He shouldn't be alone, and
Yeah,
we'll
we
do
got
the.
this.
We'll,
Don't worry about
we got
that,
this.
Turner.
Yes. We'll go get
You
Tani
don't.
as well.
You don't. You know what? With one condition. Oh my god! I'm sorry. This is too funny. Swipe through it.
What a nightmare. I will give, Barnack and Kor, if you don't have full inspiration points yet, please take an additional point of inspiration for that nightmare.
That's about to happen.
I can do this. Wait. So whatever I allow you to proceed with this bullshit. If you get caught, you've never heard my name before. I'm not your contact. I'm not your ally. I'm not your friend. For me, you guys should be arrested for this. You know that. So I'm getting out of here, and you do whatever. I don't know, but I'm not hanging with you guys. And I just
Okay,
go
Turner.
and I.
We
No,
don't we don't know you.
I'm
We're
go-
not like, yeah.
I'm going
I catch
away.
your drift.
Yeah.
And as you walk away, I'll say, "Goodbye, stranger." Start walking towards the other side.
Okay.
All
Alright, so we'll go back to that in a second. In the meantime, of course, the not Dumb and Dumber duo is walking down the hallway. Do you guys need a moment?
Okay.
Just breathe.
I'm gonna mute myself for.
Okay. So Vanity, her arm wrapped around yours, is walking down the hallway as, formally as someone who is trained in etiquette could, without, being raised into it. At your side, she briefly, she takes you on a sort of path alongside the guards first at the next intersection, where you notice that there are 2 armored guards and 1 thaumaturge. You also notice on the back of, one of them kind of turns their back to you a little bit. They have their shields equipped, but, not actively on their arm. And on the back of one of the shields, you see an insignia that could very well be an arcane rune of some kind. In any case, she takes you, on a sort of sidelong path, and then briefly, stops you in the middle of the hallway, and pretends to get really close to you, and, it makes for a very intimate moment, but she's playing it quite well. And in that moment, she whispers to you, the left one. I believe I know him. His name escapes me, but I believe if you have the coin, you should be able to get past him.
Thank you
And
for the advice.
and with that, she very briefly, she hesitates, and there you can see the lack of her training in this. On a longer scale, she's not trained as a spy, but she improvises quite nicely and briefly puts a kiss on your cheek, and then puts her arm through yours again, before realizing you'll probably have to approach him alone, and then let's go, and just stands there again.
I do
demure.
that thing where I put my hand over her hand and like pretend that I'm whispering something softly, and I say to her, "I'm going to pretend now that I'm whispering something very softly, and that I'll be just back in just a moment." And I can extricate myself from her. Quite surprised that she was so adept at this whole thing. I thought it would be less proficient, so I'm happy with my little spy. So I go and approach the the left one, slight like swagger to my step. Before I moved out, I ruffled my kerchief around my neck a little bit.
Right.
And I approach the left one. I say, "Good evening, gentlemen."
Hello, sir. Are you having a good time at the celebration? And you can see this is a sort of younger person. The other two are standing across the sort of larger opening, and seem to be slightly amused by him having to handle this alone.
Yeah. So I kind of look back towards Vanity, look back towards him, and then give them that sleazy douchebag kind of grin that everybody learns to hate at some point. And I give him like, "Oh, having quite a good time, if you know what I mean." But you see, the atmosphere out there is a little bit stuffy, and there's just a few too many proper folk around, and I'm looking for a little bit of a corner to get myself and my lady in to enjoy the night a little bit more, if you know what I mean.
He kind of
I give him a wink.
He takes in the wink, and you can see he's quite surprised by your forwardness and boldness. And then he looks over at the other two, and they're just having a bit of a giggle fit between the two of them. And he just looks back at you. "Oh, I'm very sorry, sir. How can I help you with that?"
Well, you see, my beau over there told me there's a few offices down that corridor over there where we might find ourselves in a little bit more of a secluded spot, and I was hoping that we could go for a stroll. And as I'm talking, I'll reach into my coin purse and I'll twirl a platinum piece in my fingers. Would you be able to help us out and, let us pass?
First make a perception check.
Okay. Ah! Shit.
Did you not perceive the table?
I did not perceive the table. 4.
Ooh. Okay.
Very
Then go
good.
ahead and roll persuasion.
Okay. 12.
Okay.
I'll use my inspiration already to reroll that.
Fair enough.
Okay, that's better. 19.
Okay.
Thank you.
He looks at you dubiously, and then he looks over at his fellas, and both of these other two guards are currently actually have become embroiled in another conversation with another pair of people that seem to probably work here at the Solidariat. So he looks back to you and he says, I'm sorry, sir, but that could get me fired."
So I look at him like full of compassion, touched, and I understand. And as I'm doing that, I reach into my coin purse and I produce another platinum piece that I'm just kind of rubbing the two together subtly. And I say, "I understand fully, and I appreciate that. You see, I have no ill intention or anything. We'll be in and out of there in just a short amount of time. We'll get in nobody's hair. I promise you that. I just need some peace and quiet."
He kind of, you see he grips onto the sword at his side just for comfort, not even with the hand with which he would wield it. And just the whole heavy armor, you can see it kind of moving and rattling as he shifts on the spot several times. He looks over at the other two again, they're still occupied. And he just very, he's not good at subtlety, so he just kind of tries to hold out his hand like this really quickly, like, okay, give it here.
I'll try and cover it up by like shaking his hand very firmly and dropping probably the 2 coins with my other hand into like a pocket or something.
Okay.
And tapping him on there to show like that's where they are, bro. It's like God, thank you very much.
Of course. Please feel free to find your lady's effects as soon as possible. And he steps aside and
We'll
just
be
lets
but
you
a
through.
short amount of time, and I motion to Vanity like, come on, let's go.
Okay, so she kind of hurries through, shoots him a smile, and the two of you disappear into the depths of the Solidariat. Alright. So you do notice that as you round the corner also, there are guards stationed at other posts throughout the place as well. But for the time being, you get the impression that if you simply walk here specifically with purpose, and Vanity kind of guides you a little bit, at least direction-wise. You have to put on all the swagger, but she guides you direction-wise, how to walk and kind of avoid them and yet appear, like you belong there. And so you guys...
False confidence is the main
Yes.
trait of Jean-Jacques' life.
Yes,
so.
Absolutely, and especially at this point where there is a sort of assumption that if you are dressed like a party guest and you haven't, you've made it to here, that you have permission to be here. So while you draw attentions from a few of the guard posts throughout the building, none of them intercept you or stop you for any particular reason.
Now, just before, if you intended to transition or something, as we were passing the checkpoint and as we passed different ones, did I get a better glance at that shield or the symbol on it? Or do I get a sense that there's like dispelling effect at these checkpoints?
Make an Arcana check.
16.
You get the impression it is half of a rune of counterspell.
Half of a rune of counterspell.
Yeah. You don't know exactly where the rest of it would be exactly, but you know that especially for engravings like this, it can be quite creative in terms of how it's distributed across different pieces of armor. But essentially the impression is that these guards are also equipped to deal with offensive spellcasters in case of, danger.
Right. And at every checkpoint they have this, seemingly?
Every single Solidariat guard that you see actually has this. It's just that you've only started noticing it now.
Alright. So there's no... Fuck me.
Alright, so, in the meantime, as Jean-Jacques and Vanity are making their way through the Solidariat, Barnack, Kor, and Turnock are still out in the corridor. What are you guys going to get up to?
Yeah. I'm sad that you used this card already, but I was going to, before the transition, say that I was leaving the two of them.
Oh, that's
and
fine.
I was going to be looking for a younger, perhaps more unexperienced guard, perhaps only one guarding a specific checkpoint. I'm not looking for checkpoints necessarily close to the Norwegian court or the empty court. Like I'm just now surveying which would be the easiest entrance or the weakest link amongst them.
Well, the guardsman that Jean-Jacques had charmed, so that one is close to the Numidian court, definitely stands out as seeming more young and kind of being teased a little bit as well by the other two at his point. Simultaneously, you see that even further down that corridor, seemingly leading into a really separate part of the building towards Solidarity Hall, you see that there's a single guardsman standing guard over a very small door, who you can't really tell young or old or even how easily impressionable they might be, but it's definitely someone alone, which is different than all of the other checkpoints that you've seen.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay.
Right. What would you like to do?
Excellent question.
Do you want to think about it a bit while I ask Kor and
Yeah.
Barnack? All right, Kor and Barnack. What do you guys get up to as you have been unfortunately rebuffed at the previous checkpoint? And you have, I believe, still 8 pieces of paper between the two of you that says
Yes.
something about the
Turn
Scarlet
ate
Rose.
2 of them.
Yep.
8. Yeah. Who do we see in the main holdback?
Pretty much all of the people that I described, outside of the ones that have left so far. So, let me see. I believe Bilmont is still out there. Elena, the Honorable Clementine Selman, Philip Grundig is currently talking up a storm with quite a crowd around him who are listening to him kind of proselytize about something. Jean-Pierre is there. Mr. Atticus Hope is kind of wandering about a bit forlorn. Notably, I would say you, Barnack, with your perception, do notice that Lady Bonneville, the lady that that Turnock also had been kind of keeping an eye on, and that Jean-Jacques had been keeping an eye on, is currently absent.
Okay, she's absent.
Yeah.
Okay, I have here everyone. Just a moment that I marked. Philip Grundig.
Yeah, it's a lot of people, I know.
Yeah. And Philip Grundig is currently talking to...
Just a crowd of what seems to be maybe 1 or 2 more important people, and the rest are just attendants, and just generally, he's kind of on a rant, sort of. But you do notice that Bilmont, Sonorius, is standing maybe 20 feet away and looking quite grumpily at Philip as he's having this rant before a crowd.
Can we hear what the rant is about?
Oh yes, it is absolutely about the ineffectiveness of both freelancers and black hats in catching his sister's killer.
Okay. And Bilmont is turning a dark eye. Stink
Yeah, he's
eye,
definitely
I
not happy, of course, as the leader of the Black
Yeah.
Hat Commission.
Yeah.
But you've seen them together before, so it seems that they also have a kind of friendship. And you do notice that he's not mentioning Bilmont specifically. He's just ranting and raving and kind of letting his emotions out as much as possible.
And he was one of the people that Storm said might be...
Yeah. As you're watching, I'll say, and you guys are kind of trying to decide what to do, Jean-Pierre comes forward through the crowd and just kind of starts to talk him down. And you see people start to disperse over the next 3 or 4 minutes. And Jean-Pierre just puts an arm around his shoulder, and they start walking together through the inner courtyard, quietly talking, not easily overheard anymore, but having a quiet conversation between the two of them.
Jean-Pierre Chopin.
That is right. Core, in the meantime, by the way, anything you want to be doing or looking out for? You don't have to. I just want to give you the opportunity.
No, I'm
So many people.
just sticking with Barnack for now.
Okay. I will say, Core, you are the only one out of your general group right now to notice that there seems to be 2 of these heavily clad Solidariat guards speaking with Lord Fennec.
Oh. Can I hear what they're...
No, I mean,
saying or
you
something?
would have to get really close to actually overhear any conversation. The whole setup of this is that people can have private conversations pretty much anywhere. So overhearing requires like really active attempts to get close enough and stay unseen or unnoticed.
I want to try to overhear what they're saying.
Okay. In that case, make a general charisma check. And you're not proficient in stealth, are you?
No.
Okay, then
Not
just
at
straight up charisma.
There we
How much did you roll?
go. 13.
Okay. Remember to say your rolls out loud, because the stream can't see
Oh,
them.
right.
Um,
Well, 13.
Alright, so with a 13, I will say you get relatively close, but you do get to the point of you have to kind of choose whether you want to commit more. You don't feel like you're necessarily unnoticeable. Like, the whole blending into the crowd thing, especially at an event like this, is more Jean-Jacques' territory. But for you, you feel like you might be discovered, but you can still choose to move on if you wish. Really, to overhear something you may overhear, but you will probably be noticed before it's all over.
No. If since I see that I'm not being too successful doing that, I just go back and I'll tell Barnack about it. Like, hey,
Okay.
Barnack, I saw those two guards,
that-
right? Talking
Yeah,
to Lord Fenwick.
two soldiers. Beyond them, you couldn't see anything because they were kind of blocking the seating area that Lord Fenwick was in.
Wait. That's we can. We can talk to Lord Storm. Let's go see what they're talking about. Maybe he has more information for us, and maybe he can get us to know these guards, and maybe they also guard one of those checkpoints. So we got like way in. So let's go.
Okay, let's go.
So
All
yeah,
right.
we'll just
We'll
approach.
approach them.
All right. You approach them, and as you get closer, you see that they are not alone, but rather that the person actually speaking with Lord Fenwick directly is the lady. Let me grab her name here real quick. So many names. The Honorable Clementine Selman. So one of the women that you were told to look out for, or one of the people, not women, that you were told to look out for is currently in direct conversation with Lord Fenwick. But as you approach and get close enough to actually see this, the guards kind of turn, first to block you, but then there's a cough from behind, and they part ways. And Clementine gets to her feet. She looks over at Lord Fenwick and simply inclines her head and then gives both of you a very particular look, especially Kor gives you a very particular look, and then moves past you, and she and the soldiers begin moving off.
What sort of look like?
Make an insight check.
Is she not part of any of the
15.
committees? Because I'm in trouble.
May I also try to?
She is
Gauge
part of
her-
the Judicial and Ethical Standards Committee.
Oh, okay. So I
Commission,
just didn't
sorry.
mark her. My bad.
May I gauge what kind of stink eye she's
Sure,
given
you
us?
can also make an insight check. And Kor, what was yours?
15.
15. Okay, 15 for
In
Kor.
total 16.
16, okay. Both of you, this one is a bit easier to read, but also because she was making it kind of obvious. She has a particular interest in Kor. She was definitely looking at him. And the impression that you get, the way that you can read it is that... how do I put this? She is suspicious towards Kor. Like, the way that you would be suspicious of someone trying to screw you over in a business deal, perhaps. That is definitely what you're getting from her here.
Okay. And I haven't met her or anything before.
No. Not in the slightest.
Okay, I'll just look at that sneaker and like shrug, like whatever. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's a look right in passing, so she's gone before you can give a reaction.
yeah, I'll be like, whatever. I won't pay much attention to that.
Okay. In the meantime, Turnok and Jean-Jacques. Let's go with Turnok first, since you're still, I think, in the middle of something.
I approach I go towards the guard, that checkpoint, and I don't address him immediately or anything. I lean over the nearby wall, close to him, close enough to talk, close enough for him to have noticed me. I'm not trying to be unnoticed, and I just turn to him and I say I would offer you one, and I point to the drink, but I know you cannot accept it. Trust me, I've done this dozens of times already, and people are pretty strict when it comes to, well, festivity celebration, especially when it comes to royalty. And I lean a little bit closer. I know there's no royalty here, but it's exactly the same thing.
You can see that they square up their position a little bit just to stand more firmly on the ground. And the arms go to the side because, with the armor, they couldn't necessarily put it behind the back, but you get the impression that they want to kind of take that position if they could. And they look over to you, and you notice just from the general build, it's a very powerful individual. But as they look over at you and you hear the voice, you get the impression this is actually a woman. And she looks over to you and she says, "That's all right. I don't need to drink when I'm on duty, as I'm sure you can understand."
More than understand, I relate to it. Let's say that I'm just I'm trying to enjoy the company of one of my own right now. Yeah, if you excuse me.
Your excuse, sir. She doesn't quite get your meaning. And
Mm-hmm.
from the way that she speaks, you get the impression also that she is definitely not a Pustitian native. Probably comes from a different place herself, and struggles a bit with the language.
Mm-hmm. I turn to her and I say, interesting accent. Where are you from?
I'm sorry, sir, but we have been ordered not to make conversation. Do you require anything of me?
I was just hoping to. I was just hoping to have some actual conversation with somebody in here because you see, these people, they all they talk is things that are going to literally be relevant or are irrelevant in the next 15 minutes. It's all gossip and games and politics, and let's just say I'm not uh I cannot relate with that, and I'm not part of this nobility that's here right now. So this party's starting to get kind of dull for me.
Then why don't you leave, sir?
You know these places well enough to know that one cannot just simply leave and leave their affairs unattended and stuff like that. I need to at least play the part. But I was hoping, what's her name again? I apologize.
They think for a moment, deciding whether to give you this information in the first place.
Mhm.
I do not think it would be appropriate to give you my name, sir. I am only
Okay.
on duty. And they you see briefly the inclination of the head. Make a history check to see if you can kind of deduce, based on their overall behavior, where you might guess that they're from.
17.
17. You think probably are out of the west. Out of the
West?
the lands of the sovereignty. They have a very
Oh,
particular
yeah, the
sort of
sovereignty.
approach to both the conversation and to how they carry themselves and how they have responded so far. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. I
Long
turn
live
to
the
her.
sovereign.
What? I'm sorry? Didn't listen.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
No worries.
I just I get in front of her. I square her up. I put my hands are together in front of my body, and I just say, "Listen, if you don't want to talk, then let me just say what I need. I need to go past you. And if you're not the kind of person to allow me to go through for whatever compensation that it may require, I'll turn my back and you forget that I mentioned that to you. But if by any means there's something that I can do for you that will grant my passage, I'll be really, really glad.
She
I
holds
do
up a
have.
hand to stop you.
Mhm.
So, I am more than familiar with the intricacies of these politics, which you claim not to play, but I can see that you do. I have no need of any money that you can offer, but I require only your promise that you do not go through this door with ill intent towards anyone at this party or the Republic.
Oh, it's not my plan to cause any harm.
Can you roll a persuasion check for me?
Yeah. I am going to use one of my infinite inspiration points.
Well, you can choose to use it after you've rolled if you haven't yet.
Oh, but I have rolled
Oh, okay.
a 13, and
Okay, then yeah, you
don't
can
want a
indeed
13.
apply it. Yeah.
Well, then you leave me with
13.
no other option. I do have another inspiration point, but I'm gonna.
No, it's okay.
save
It's okay.
this.
Let's go with this. Okay. So as you say this, and she stands before you, you can see she kind of stands up straighter again, not quite planting herself as your obstacle necessarily, and she looks at you. She removes her helmet, and you can see the dark complexion of a half elf out of the west. Somebody who's definitely grown up under a hot desert sun, and she places the helmet on the ground. She's very meticulous with everything that she does. And then she removes one of her gauntlets, very heavy, tucks it under the arm, and produces from her side a small dagger. And for a moment you think like, oh shit. But she cuts into her hand, and then she offers you the dagger.
Okay,
Looking expectantly at you.
Yeah. Do I know what she's doing at this point, or no?
I would
have
say
no
with your
idea.
history check, you can guesstimate something of a swearing of some kind. There are definitely cultures that have more physical approaches to giving your word, which may be something that.
So
she's
yeah.
doing too.
As I grab the dagger from her hand,
Okay.
and I just say, I don't hope this has any implications, but I really don't intend on doing any harm towards people or your system. And I say system kind of trying to still understand, and I make a small incision in my hand.
Okay. She accepts the dagger back. She briefly goes to wipe it off before realizing, no, that's not going to work. So she just puts it to the side. She extends the hand which she cut. And, she, if you had any doubt, she instructed you to cut the same one so she could, shake her hand. And she takes it and she says, I am Faria of Hesparbad. You have sworn to me to do no harm. I will hold you to this promise. She shakes it once, lets go, and she produces a small, very nice cloth with which she wipes off the blood from the dagger first, and then she binds her hand, and it goes back into the glove. She puts the helmet back on, and she steps aside.
Yeah, as I pass by her, I just say thank you very much, and I'm a dragon of my word. And I just would you kindly ping to me where I am right now?
Sure. So you're going into the corridor here on the west part.
This
near the petitioner's court. You're entering into the hallway that leads towards Solidarity Hall, but also towards Casimir's Crown.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm heading in.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I would suggest we have a 5-minute break. Just bathroom breaks and that sort of thing. Get water, and then we'll continue on. But please feel free to continue role playing, talking, because I know that Jean-Jacques. That Corin Barnack might have something to talk about, and I'm also interested in learning. Jean-Jacques will arrive at the office soon, and turn out where you want to go as well. So let's take a minute. I will be right back. I just need to use the bathroom. So
yeah, me too.
Uno
Same,
segundo.
actually.
No, okay.